Okay, welcome to the next episode of Curse of Fey, where in our last session, some very interesting things happened. We began with the party heading off into the forest again, once more into the unknown paths of the wilderness, in search of the Chernobog, the creature that had been attacking or had devastated the town where you had met two satyr. Were they satyr or fawn? Let me just double check on that. I've forgotten already. Look at that as a good start. Where you had met multiple fawn and satyr characters. Two of the prominent ones being that of Sahana Eristri, who is a fawn, and Johan Eristri, who are both fawns. There we go. Brother and sister, now in charge in some form of the town of Lancashire, and sort of pushed into this position rather than taking on being the Burgermeister of the town after their father, Borhan Eristri, had been attacked by the Chernobog and slain. The party were forced, I suppose, or at least felt that they needed to intervene to stop this dangerous creature after Sahana had come down from a rest to reveal that she had somehow lost the ability to speak, and also that her tongue had turned completely black. During the attack from this creature, the Chernobog, it was revealed that Sahana had been bitten multiple times by the creature, and she had these wounds on her arms. But after you had looked at her and used your magics to try and make sure that she was cured and healthy, nothing had become suspicious other than that this wound didn't seem to heal on its own. It didn't seem to be causing her any issues. But there was an obvious, very large bite wound on her arm. Now that she has succumbed to whatever this bite is, further, now that her voice has gone and that her tongue has turned black, I think it was you, Tisvan, who noticed that the veins in her arms around where this bite had been, there was a sort of a flash of black. That you just saw momentarily saw sort of writhe underneath her skin just for a moment and then dissipate again. But obviously her brother, Johan, very concerned for his sister's well-being, and with the help of Cain and Galatea, went off to investigate part of the woods where the Chernobog had last been seen. Unfortunately, you won't be able to find any specific tracks, but you could see the devastation that this large creature had made while leaving the area, being chased down by Johan. The rest of the party were looking into finding a cure, maybe looking for some way of stopping or at least slowing down this condition that Sahana had, and you made a stop at the Garden of Salve, where you talked once again to Cremini, a mushroom folk person. And unfortunately, although they very much wanted to help Sahana, they were unable to aid you. There was nothing that you could provide or do to get rid of whatever this is. They had very limited information about the Chernobog, although they did reveal that through whatever little information they had, that this could possibly be just the first stage of whatever is happening to Sahana. It was at that point that Tisvan, you were handed a flyer, which you now have, that directed you to a place called Prigward, where there was tell of some sort of healer who possibly might be able to cure many different illnesses, as the flyer suggests. How much of this is true or not, you not at liberty to say at the moment, but it gives you an avenue to maybe explore if things progress. After some more further conversations with between the party and in the town, you decided to borrow temporarily Giggles, the canine friend or blink dog that you had made friends with and rescued previously from a thorn den on a previous mission. And although his master and mistress were happy for you to take the dog, they did send you off with just asking you to bring the puppy back in one piece, having promised this and made sure that you would bring Giggles back in one safely again. They let you borrow his blood trucker senses in order to try and hunt down the Chernobog. I believe that you got Sahana to show the dog the wound, and using his very highly developed nose sense was able to pick up a scent of some sort and be able to start tracking the beast, leading you initially back to the site of the attack, which was back at the Aerostry estate, and then leading you off into the forest. There was a voice, Kane, you weren't here last week. There was a voice that went with the dog, but perhaps you will hear that later if Amros decides to talk to the dog again. Otherwise, you'll have to catch up on the recording from last week.
We'll have to see if I even can handle that voice. It threw me off so bad last time.
Nope, can't. Nope.
And so you headed off into the forest, using the sensitive nose of Giggles to be able to find your way. However, due to either the lack of scent or just the disruption of scent, based on the time since the attack happened, this wasn't a fresh attack. This had been a week or so ago, and so the trail that you were following kind of died at places. You ended up turning yourself around a few times. There was a moment where you came across these violet mushrooms that you were unsure of whether these were something that you could harvest or whether these were something dangerous to you. But opting to take the safer path, you were able to avoid these mushrooms and continue your journey unabated. Unfortunately, you still found yourselves lost, turned around, and eventually you wandered into whatever lair the Chernobog had made for itself, and you were set upon by the beast, this giant bear-like creature with huge antlers protruding from the top of its head, its eyes burning red, its mouth salivating this black ichor, and you were caught unawares as the creature attacked. You battled bravely against this creature, fending it off. Its giant size compared to you, somehow making it its imposing form easier for you to hit, and for some reason making it almost impossible for the thing to hit you. That is until it eventually managed to get a bite on the smallest member of your party, Moira, who, with the size of this creature, now has a rather large bite mark on your body. Moira, where do you think this creature would have bitten you?
Well, considering I was trying to do a thing but failed, I would imagine like thigh, or probably, because I'm so small, thigh plus hip.
Thigh plus hip. Okay. So when you were trying to make, I think, and actually that makes sense because you were actually moving away from it, I think, when the bite happened.
Yeah.
So with the large jaws of this creature came snapping down on you, and you now have a reasonably deep puncture wound on your leg and your hip, lower abdomen there. where this creature bit down on you. Luckily, it was only a passing bite as you were moving away, so it didn't bite all the way through your leg, which could have quite easily happened based on your size and the size of the creature. But you have had this heavy bite wound now, similar to the one that Hannah has on her arm. However, you all managed to win the day, besting the creature and sending it running back into the forest. It looks at some point that that perhaps you wouldn't be able to stop the creature as it lolloped off, heavily wounded. But you were able to strike it down, and it finally slumped to the floor as it just broke out through the other side of the woods around you. Tisfin, you followed on after this creature, making sure that it didn't escape you, that it didn't continue to cause harm anywhere else. And as you moved around, although the creature was unmoving, wanting to make sure once and for all this creature never moved again, you were about to send your glaive down into the head of this giant creature when something odd happened. The body of this beast slowly seemed to recede. Its body, its big black body of fur, seemed to dissipate and turn into similar to the black ichor that was dripping from its mouth. And as the body broke down and started to ooze away, the ichor itself seemed to just sort of dissipate and slowly burn or fade, a bit like, Thanos snap, kind of just disappearing into this dust into the air. And laying face down on the ground, there was a half-elven man lying there in place of where the Chernobyl bog had been. And that is where we start today's session.
Seeing the creature transform into this person, instead of shoving the glaive down, he will turn it around, use the butt of the glaive, and give it a little thwack around the ribs, not too hard, but just to see if there's any form of reaction. Okay, and so the creature is currently face down, so you bang on the back of the creature, this half elf. You don't get any reaction. The creature lies motionless, face down on the ground. Is the creature clothed or tattered, something that I can grab onto to drag it over to everyone else? There are no clothes on the body. This half elf man is laying naked. There are scars on the body itself, but there is no clothing at all.
And can I wade through these brambles to see what's going on with the...
Of course, yes. You probably saw Tisman running off into the bushes, so yeah, you could follow on quite easily.
I saw the spikes and I didn't want to just assume I could go there with
No, that's cool. No, you can do that.
Okay, great. Can I do some kind of medicine check on this gentleman?
Of course you can, yes. That's an 8. What is it you're trying to see? Are you trying to check if it's dead or anything else?
Just general condition.
Yeah,
including death.
Yeah, exactly. So you bend down and you put your hands on the body, place fingers on the neck, seeing if there's any pulse or any kind of sign of life. This half elf is dead. They have died very, very recently. There are scars on the body, but they seem to be healed. Not healed. Being old scars. So they are not from this fight.
Okay. Suddenly wishing I had gentle repose land.
Is Moira still floating?
We'll say that Galatea will, once the danger has been abated, if you are saying I need to get down, Galatea will release you from the levitation.
Can I please come down to the land? Ah, land, precious solid land. Thank you. Does okay. Does anybody need healing? Is everybody okay?
I think you're the one that needs healing. That says Amaras says pretty much pointing at Moira's leg.
Yeah, pish posh. I'm fine.
But yeah, I think Moira was the only one to actually get injured in that fight.
Yep.
Judging by our health pools from what I can see, yes. She was the one that got a very big nibble.
Are we okay in here? Does anybody
Well,
what? Wait. What? Who? What? What happened?
Let me introduce you to the Chernobog.
what
Are you
was
sure
the
you didn't
Chernobog?
hit your head? Tispen. That is an elf man.
This is what was left. After I killed it, I was gonna make sure that it stayed dead, and then it just dissipated into this black ooze and left this body behind.
So the bear thing we fought turned into this elf.
Yes.
Oh dear.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I can tell you guys without a shadow of a doubt that he is deceased. But these scars on his body are old. These weren't the wounds that killed him.
Well, can I try to ascertain the cause of death to see if we caused the death of this elf man, or if it was like some sort of other witchcraft?
Sure, yeah. If you want to give me a medicine check, or is there anything else you want to try?
I was thinking medicine, yes.
Yeah, you can do a medicine check. That's fine. Ooh, a 20. Nice.
That is a dirty 20.
20, perfect. Yeah, so you very similar to Kane, you look at the body, you notice again the scars that are already healed over. These seem to have been given to the creature seems to have suffered these some time ago. These are old scars that have healed or at least closed up some time ago. And as you look at the body, or do you turn them over, or you just leave them like face down?
I will begin to try.
Yeah, so you can turn them over quite easy. I'm sure one of the others will help you if you're trying to turn them over anyway.
This one will help.
Yeah, and as you turn them over, you see you can look at the face of this elven man. He's in his 30s, you would say, or the equivalent of about 30 years old. He could be way older than that, but to human years, you would say he's probably about 30s. He's got a long matted hair that's all sort of like caught over his face, and obviously very, very unkempt from years of not being washed. And though his eyes are closed, you don't see any other markings on the front or the back of any wounds that you may have caused. There don't seem to be any direct cuts or impact damage. Nothing that you would say was the death by the causes of magic or impact that you have gave to the beast. But it is clear that this creature has just died.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Is this common knowledge? Like, would I need to make like a history check for Kane to know how age works with half elves? Or
What I mean is, yeah, with the age thing, it's just like this is how old he would look. So whatever the equivalent of your 30s in elven years is, that's what he looks like. It's not like he's younger than he appears to be or anything. That's just me saying he looks like he's in his 30s, just to give you a ballpark figure of what he looks like.
I understand that. If this was a dwarf, then Kane actually has a lot of experience with dwarves.
Right.
But
Okay.
He hasn't spent that much time around elves.
Right.
Really.
So yeah, I guess because if you're just basing him like, you know, as a human, that's how old you would think he would be, but you wouldn't know if he was any older than that because you can only go by how old he looks chronologically.
This is might just be drawing this out, but with Tisvan being a sort of elf,
Yeah.
would he have a better idea of like approximate age?
Yeah, again, it's so. I suppose if you wanted to kind of like, I'm not trying to like hide anything from you. This is more like just so you kind of get an idea of like what he looks like. But I suppose
right.
with a
forget my question.
Yeah, like, he's a half elf, so he lives longer than humans, but not as long as elves. So because he's got that mortal, this human side to him. So if you imagine that they live, I think about 180 years or something like that, 100 to 200 years. He's probably 40 in his actual ages, years that he's been alive. But what did I say? He was 30, so 60. If he was an elf, but he looks 30s to a human eye.
Alrighty.
This was honestly more of a springboard for me to wonder if Kane knew how elves age. Like if an elf
Right.
came up to him, he'd be like, "Oh, you must be like 40," and they're like, "No, I'm 200."
Yeah,
He'd be like, "What? Are you a necromancer?"
exactly. Yeah, no. If it would be like a pure elf, you would basically look at him and go, "Oh, he must be in his 30s." That's how it would look. But he could be far older. There's no way of telling because they're androgynous and they're kind of like this very slow aging race. So it'd be impossible to tell. Him being a half elf, and you can tell he's a half elf because his ears are shorter than they would be if he was an elf. Because of that, he looks about the normal age that you would say in the human years would be 30, but Tisvan, knowing half elves, you're probably thinking, oh, he's probably in his 60s, just because you know a little bit more about the age is twice as much for that of a human. But yeah, it wasn't to try and trick you of like he's younger than he appears to be. It was just like I was just trying to say he looks like he's in his 30s because that's so you know that he's not wrinkly and old.
We get it.
Yeah.
it. Kane is in his 30s, so I suppose he looks
Yeah.
at him and thinks, "Damn, that's what I look like."
That's it.
Wait, but like, I'm trying to figure out the cause of death. Like, is there like it was Tisvan's glaive that struck down the Chernobog? Is there like a glaive slash on
No.
his body?
No, he has no marks that you can see that look like. If he had died from the glaive or anything like that, he would be bleeding profusely. When you looked at it as him when he was the Chernobyl, when he was this creature, there was clearly slashes in the body and it was oozing more of this blood, this black ichor. You could see the rends there in the flesh. But now that has all dissipated away from the body, all you're left with is essentially a dead body that has scars and things on it. The creature itself seems to the half elf seems to be have just recently died. Like his body was just slightly warm to the touch, but none of the scars on him. In fact, the scars that you see on the body look like claw marks, like gashes, like from an animal. But they've healed. They have closed up. They're old wounds. They're not new. So when you look at the body has died, but you can't tell. You don't think it can be from age because they're still young. The wounds that they've got don't seem to be there. Perhaps something internally has caused this death, but there isn't anything physically. Looking at the half elf on the floor that you can see that would be, oh, this is the reason for death? You know,
Kane may have an idea. He might have made a connection here, but it will depend on this. Do the scars that the half elf has sustained look similar to the natural weapons that a Chernobog would have?
I would say yes. I mean, the claw marks that you can see on the body are that of, obviously the Chernobog is not there anymore, that the body has dissipated, but based on what you've just encountered, the claws could very well be that of a bear or bear-like creature. The scratches on there could have been from that creature or a similar creature, but yes, they are definitely animalistic claw marks that have been rending the flesh.
The synapses in Kane's brain are gonna fire off.
Mm.
He's gonna look at everyone with a very troubled, worried look on his face. I think I might have understood what happened here. Stop me if you think I'm talking crazy, but I don't think this is the Chernobog. I think this is one of his victims.
Oh.
So you believe that there are more of them out here?
I don't think that they're all as powerful as the original, at least if what we've been told is what we're going to go off, but this seems to be some twisted form of lycanthropy.
Can we see any bite marks on this elf?
So I'll say with Moira's 20 that she had earlier, you don't see any bite marks on the chest or back or anything that you've looked over. As you work down the body, you will notice there is like puncture wounds of the fangs that you saw on this beast, just on the thigh. But again, they have healed or closed, very similar to Sahana's matching bite mark.
Tisbin is thinking with what he noticed when he attempted to heal Sarhana, are there any blackened veins around the bite mark?
So if you want to give me a investigation or a perception, if you want to have a look.
Absolutely. One second.
I am proficient in neither of those, so I cannot help you. It was worth a shot.
I can say you can roll with advantage if Moira, because Moira's been examining and had a high medicine check, perhaps pointing out areas of like, oh, there's the bite wound over here. Maybe that will help you. So I can say you would roll an advantage if Moira wants to help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, rolling with advantage. 16.
So yeah, you look at the body where these puncture wounds are, and you sort of maybe put your hands on the leg and sort of press the flesh a little bit around the area, just to sort of like just pressing down, just to sort of see if there's any kind of movement in any fluid in the veins and stuff. You don't notice any black. There's maybe for a moment you see sort of a flicker, but it dissipates and there's nothing left.
I don't want to discount your theory, but with what I saw when I attempted to heal Sorhana, he doesn't have the same blackened veins, even if it appeared just for a moment with her.
Maybe the blackened veins could become inert once the transformation is fully complete. In all honesty, I'm more worried about Sahana at this point. Is it possible that she'll turn into a Chernobog too? Or something similar?
If that is a worry, absolutely. And then Tisvan looks over to Moira. But it's also a worry with you, since you got bitten.
Well, does anybody need healing? Anyone? Any of you? This one? No? Kane? No?
This one will walk around the body, go next to Moira, and use his last. He'll use first 5 points just to see if, try to purge any sort of disease or poison out of her bloodstream.
Okay.
And then he will use 5 more just to give her a bit more HP.
Okay. So, Moira, you can regain those hit points.
Yay! How many was it? 10?
5.
5, okay.
Since I'm using 5 to try to remove any disease or poison.
Yeah. So you use this ability on Moira, and you try and leach out anything that may be in the skin. There is a black sort of like ichor that is probably still there, left in the wound from where it bit. But you're able to sort of pull that out from the bite. And although you pull that out and you sort of like you clean the wound, bleaching anything else that might be in there, the bite wound does not heal; it stays. Very similar to how when you try to heal and remove the wound from Sahana, the bite mark remains and does not heal over.
We need to get you to a proper healer.
Moira just kind of looks at her holy symbol like, I like myself, or
Someone who knows more. Someone who might know how to deal with this. Because we do not want you to turn into one of those.
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no. My bad. That was a mistake on my part. I freaked out a little. Sorry. I'm fine. Hello.
We'll make sure that no harm comes to you. We'll quicken our pace towards this supposed healer of curses and other such ailments. I'll pay what's needed to remove this curse from you. This is quite frankly a fate worse than death. I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
You do know that the payment is not gonna be gold, right?
I'm fully aware, but I've paid so much already. What's a little more? It feels like half of me will end up staying here, and half will go back to the plane I'm from. And well, isn't that just the pinnacle of balance?
Well, if you say so, I guess I can't argue with that.
Was there anything else urgent that we had to do out here? Otherwise, I believe we should return to the village and then try to find our way to... What was the place called again? And Tisvan will pull out the flyer. Brigwort. Do we have any idea where that is?
Ooh, flyer.
I don't think so. I guess we could ask the apothecary that we got the flyer from. I think they mentioned it, but I don't remember at the moment.
Because we didn't have this flyer when I described it a couple of sessions ago, would you like to read that out for anyone who's listening currently?
Absolutely. The light of hope awaits. In a world darkened by suffering, a beacon of divine light shines upon us. The blessed healer, anointed by the heavens, calls all who are burdened by sickness and cursed by misfortune to seek solace and salvation. Join the faithful at the Abbey of Prigwort.
Ooh. I am all for this.
Would you? How did you say when the creature died and left the body behind? Can you describe that again for me?
It dissipated into what looked like the same kind of ichor that was falling out of his mouth, and then just blew away like ashes.
We just turned to ash.
Ichor, then ash, yes.
Yeah. It basically, the whole body sort of just broke down into this sort of ichor and just sort of just receded, leaving the body in the middle. And as it receded away from the body, it sort of dried and then just turned into ash and just dissipated into the wind.
Okay. So out of my field. I have a vague idea, but I want to give it a bit more thought before I go into anything.
All right. But were we gonna try and talk to the dryads while we were out here, or do we want to return?
If we can find them. Speaking of, Giggles, are you alright over there?
So as you turn round to call to Giggles, realizing that Giggles isn't with you, you also realize that Galatea is also not with you.
I think we should go and check on them.
Everything all right?
As you step away from the Chernobyl, you as you were standing there around the body, you notice that the air around you as you leave the body, there's a curious energy that you feel in the air now, and you looking around, you feel sort of unsettled. There isn't anything particular that you can put your finger on, but there just seems to be a sort of an energy in the air where you are, as you walk back out into this sort of clearing where you see Galatea and Giggles standing, and as you slowly start to approach and look towards them, maybe calling out, Galatea, what are you up to? You see her looking above her, and she raises her hands for you to stop.
I stop.
We stop and look up.
Yeah. You also notice Giggles is also looking up into the canopy.
Question. Is Giggles looking hostile as he's looking up, or like he's defensive, or is he just looking up?
He is looking up curiously, I would say. Not growling, not thinking there's a big danger or something like that, but just curiously looking up, backwards and forwards, as if trying to follow something with his eyes. And as you look up into the canopy as well, you see just in the shadows of the tree branches, you just see a slight movement. And if you remember, as you were coming this way, there was movement above you. There were noises. There were things that were moving backwards and forwards. But every time you tried to look, they sort of disappeared, and you weren't able to focus on them.
I remember Moira might have seen like pairs of eyes or something.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think Moira, you were the more observant one on that day. You managed to sort of notice these a little bit more. Still not sure exactly what they are, but you definitely saw eyes, some sort of creatures. And as you look up, for a moment, you have that same thing of, I can't quite focus. There's something moving and then it's gone again. But then whatever it is flows and slowly starts to emerge, climbing downwards. And you start to see four small, mischievous looking creatures just beginning to sort of climb down from the canopy along branches, just slightly still out of your reach, physical reach, but they seem to be possibly no more than about 2 feet tall, so similar in height maybe to Moira. But they have these delicate twig-like limbs and skin that seems to be like made of bark and moss. And their eyes gleam. You recognize these eyes, Moira, the ones you saw earlier. Little eyes that just gleam with a sort of mischievous light. And you see mouths just sort of grinning, little grinning mouths, a bit like the Cheshire Cat, just sort of splitting into this sort of wood-like skin, just running at different angles, with a playful grin, revealing tiny, sharp little teeth. Some of them seem to have like little leaf-like wings, and they kind of flutter down slowly towards you, as other ones move down and seem to be adorned with tiny flowers or vines that are kind of woven almost to look like hair that run down their back.
Good evening.
As you say that, the four little creatures look at each other with these big, wide, toothy grins and start to giggle to each other. At this, Giggles starts like barking, and their focus suddenly focuses on the dog. And then gently they start lowering themselves closer to the floor. One of them, a creature that seems to be mostly made of twigs with a little bit of moss on the top, almost like hair, reaches the floor and then slowly sort of walks or lollops or kind of like half walks across the ground towards you. One of them moves towards Galatea. The other one sort of that has these little leafy wings sort of flutters around Giggles, and another one again comes and maybe approaches from the other side. But this one that looks like a sort of a bundle of sticks looks up at you, his big grinning, smiling mouth, and says, "Look at them! Such strong, clever mortals. You've slain the beast. You have. But what will you do now? The forest is vast and full of secrets."
Are you dryads?
They look at each other again, and again they let out this very sort of high pitch, silly little giggly noise between each other, and another one that's closer to you, Moira, that seems to be almost like just a bundle of moss with just the little face, little eyes poking out from in it inside. It just darts closer, and it has these little like leaf wings on the back that kind of, it's not quite flying, it's sort of hopping and kind of slowly dropping to the ground again as it sort of hobbles over to you. And it says,
"Oh, follow us. Follow us. We know the way. The way to the heart of the forest, to the ancient weeping grove."
Okay. Kane's gonna cast Zone of Truth centered on all of us.
okay.
No. No to that. We have been tricked once, twice, 3 times a lady. I am not having this.
Okay, so you send out Zone of Truth. So how big is that area? It's 15-foot radius, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
So whereabouts would they be located from?
So let me just quickly draw. So we've got one is, oh, am I drawing? No, it's not letting me draw. 1 second. We've got one here, one here, one here, and let's say one here. So from you, 5, 10, 15, I think all but the one near Galatea, unless you want to move, all but the Galatea will be in that 15-foot radius.
Okay, so if I'm not sure how Foundry works in terms of radius. If I click on myself, will it move with me, or?
Your great magical zone that guards against deception in the 15-foot radius is centered on a point of your choice.
I don't think I can cast it on a creature, so it would have to be.
Yeah. So if you wanna pick a point, that kind of encompasses them all, you can do that, but it won't move with you because it's a specific point.
That's the best I can do. That gets us and as much of them as I can.
Yeah, that will get everyone in that 15. If you center it basically just above the dog, then that will get everyone.
Okay.
Okay. So you cast out this zone of truth.
Kane's not trying to hide this either.
And does this have a look? Do you do anything specific for this truth bubble that you send out?
Most of Kane's spells have this light blue motif to them. That seems to be sort of the color that he tends to favor, and that Argental seems to favor, at least in his eyes. So I imagine it just looks like a sort of like a almost like a sci-fi, like a force field, but a lot more translucent, sort of this very faint blue aura around us all.
So you send this pulse out, that just dissipates out, sending this blue aura out and around you. And as this goes out, the little twig creatures sort of look around themselves. They still have these stupid big like grins on their faces, and they look around and they look at their hands and wave them in front of themselves as if trying to see if anything's different about themselves, but they seem to be completely unaware of what it is that you've done. And the one near Galatea, who's sort of towards the edge of the zone, doesn't leave the aura, but kind of just hops up onto the tree just to get its height, just so it can look down at you all and speak so that you can all hear. And this one looks more like a thatch of reeds and moss sort of bundled together with these stick arms and legs that come out of it. But it seems very much more like almost like a part of a scarecrow kind of thing that's been stuffed or bundled together with straw. It's all sort of like almost part of it falling out of itself, and it doesn't seem to be a clear face or anything, but there's still a smile, this grin that sort of creepily is indented into this sort of grassy material that it's made from. And as it sort of climbs up agilely into this tree, and it sort of hangs there swinging by one arm, looking down at you all, it just says,
"Our mistress waits. Oh yes, she does. Come, come, we'll show the way. There is no need to be afraid."
Who's this mistress?
And they all giggle again.
I would assume maybe Triad? Maybe? I'm scared.
The freaking giggling is throwing me off.
They all look and giggle, and and the one next to you, Moira, nods, and they put their little twiggy hand up to your paw, reaching out as if offering you a hand to lead you.
I know how to follow. I do not need a hand. Thank you.
And so they take their hand back and they cover their grinning mouth, and again just let out this silly little giggle. And the one by Giggles that has been sort of just circling Giggles, and Giggles just been sort of keeping distance, but sort of keeping it in its eye range, watching it as it sort of circles this one. This one is almost like it's very skinny body, but the top of it, where it's what you assume is the head, looks like a sort of a half split open conker. You know, the sort of the green spiky outside with the conker in the middle. It's kind of like that, but split just very faintly. And inside it looks like perhaps the conker, or maybe the eye looking out. And it bounds around the almost dancing around Giggles. And then it does a forward roll in front of the four of you. And then says,
Don't stray. The path is tricky, but we know the way. Come, the grove awaits.
and then just seems to sort of gather up the other three. They all sort of congregate together. I don't know if I can move these now that I've put these down. Grabs them. No, I don't think I'm able to. Grabs them. Oh yeah, I can. Grabs them all. They all sort of congregate together, holding their hands, and they point basically south of where you currently are. So, can I click here? No, wait, in this direction. And then they kind of do that kind of thing. If anyone, probably not, all of you are probably too young, but there was a show called The Monkeys where they linked arms and then they do the legs over each other as they walk. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know the one. Yeah.
Yeah, where they're sort of all linking arms and they're putting their legs over the next person's legs, and then they put the other one out, so they're kind of all walking together in a row, just following down the path.
Kane's gonna butt in here, concerned for everyone's safety. While he has this zone of truth up, he'll look them dead in the eye because he's had quite enough of Fey trickery for 1 week, so far. And he will just very blankly, very straightly ask, "Look, do you intend to harm or trick us in some way? Because we're not falling for it, not this time."
The first one that spoke, the more sort of twiggy one, looks back at you. They're still sort of walking, like just gently walking along this path, just sort of almost walking past you and that, and looking around, just their big smiles, still giggling, and just sort of looks back at you and says, sorry, what did you ask? I forgot now.
If they intended to harm or trick
Right.
us.
No, so the creature looks back at you and says,
No, no, he is the heart of the forest, the root and the branch, the breath of the leaf. Lorelei just wishes to meet you. There is no danger.
Wait, what did he say?
he said, she is the heart of the forest, the root and the branch, the breath in the leaves. Lorelei is the ancient one, and she only wishes to meet you.
I think we should go.
Well, using my connection to Argentol, I've consecrated this area. a lie cannot be uttered by any creature, so I have no reason to mistrust them, but I cannot say in good conscience that I would put anything on the line for these creatures. Far too mischievous for my liking.
They may know something about the Chernobog, though, since they spoke of it. Maybe they know a way of removing the curse, healing the disease, whatever this is.
The as you say that, and you mentioned the Chernobog, the four of them will kind of still linking arms will sort of turn. They all like turn in unison, like a little wall, turning around to face you again before they continue walking. Let me just move them to where they would be. They're just this side. They just sort of walk around you and over to this side. And they turn around, and they look at you as you say this. And the one that looks like a little sort of stack of grasses sort of tied together, like pauses and just leans over and picks up a flower from the path and then twirls it between its grassy little fingers and just says,
She felt the death of the beast, she did. The forest whispered your names to her. Now she wishes to speak to you.
So, shall we go with them?
and they all giggle
And
again.
Amro says that, looking at the rest of the party.
They all giggle again as you're trying to make up your mind.
We have no other leads.
I suppose if it will help us figure out how to cure those that have been bitten, I'm all for it, but I wouldn't lower your guard just yet.
Okay. Before we go, there's one thing I need to do. Oh. And Amros will walk over to Giggles, casting Speak with Animals again. And
No.
you better be fucking ready for Scooby-Doo Quack. He's gonna pull out another piece of the fresh meat that he got sliced up and go, alright, so we're going to follow these things. We needed your help in order to track the beast. You have completed your task. Here's a piece of meat as a thank you for that, but I want you to freely choose if you want to come with us or if you want to run back home on your own. You have a free choice on this.
So he takes the piece of meat that you offer and he like gobbles that up, and then as you say that, he sort of tilts his head to the side, looking up at you, and you can see that he's thinking. And then he says, "Well, I don't know what the right thing to do here is, but it feels like I should probably stick with you. You might need my help."
I happily welcome your help. I just wanted you to have the option to choose.
I
But if you-
appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
Struggling with this. But if you want to come with us, you're more than welcome to. I will not keep the leash on you, just so you have the free option of running if you feel the need to.
Oh, that's
And-
okay. That didn't bother me none. And then he teleports backwards and forwards, leaving you the leash in your hand. I could have done that any time I wanted to.
Amro's just gonna hold up a finger and go, I forgot you could do that. By the way, that's a very good skill to have.
Well, that's pretty useful, yeah. I'll keep an eye on these little guys if you like.
Please do.
Okie dokie. And he'll wander over to them, and they all sort of crowd around him as he sort of sniffs at them, and they kind of like giggle, and they're gentle with him. They sort of pat him, and then they start to fight amongst themselves over who gets to pat them on the nose and who gets to kind of stroke them behind the ear, and they sort of push each other backwards and forwards, just being silly.
Well, I guess we're going. Galatea,
Yeah.
you want to join us?
Galatea, she voices her concern about heading deeper into the forest, but is curious to know more about what this is. She suggests that perhaps this is in some way, maybe linked to the dryad that Seraphin, the owner of the sawmill, had mentioned to her. But is happy if the party wants to go, then she's happy to come as well. And the four little creatures sort of just bounce around, and when it looks like you might be coming their way, they will again tell you about. Say,
our mistress waits. Yes. Come, follow us. Do not keep her waiting.
Before we leave the zone of truth, Kane would like to turn his attention away from these mischievous little creatures. And instead, while the magics of the spell are still lingering, pose a question to Moira. He turns to her, wherever she might be right now, upon someone's shoulder or just walking, and he says very, very softly, whilst Argental still consecrates this place, I must ask you, Moira, are you truly okay? You really don't need to hide anything from us.
Moira is a little taken aback by this question, and she takes a moment to respond. Just as softly responds, I have not been okay for a long time. This is nothing.
Kane just solemnly nods his head at that response, and then dispels the magic.
So, off to see dryads. Maybe.
We're off
Or
to see
am I at
Dryads.
least?
One for
Okay.
Dryads of Fey.
So yeah, if you guys decide to go with them, the four little creatures will link arms again, and they will slowly walk off south from your current direction, venturing further off into the forest with you in tow. And they giggle between themselves, and they look over their shoulders at you. They carry on through the forest. They take you. It takes some time. They take you down various different smaller pathways through the forest. Some of them they get to the point where you're having to kind of, apart from Moira, having to maybe crouch down to get through. Some very smaller spaces. Some places that you have to sort of almost limbo through these areas of briar and things, which they can quite happily walk through, being very short. But the rest of you find it a little bit difficult to kind of get through this pathway that they're trying to lead you through, which is not the best or the most amount of room that you would require, or the path that you would normally choose to go through. However, you do manage to get through the pathway, and they will stop every now and again and tell you to hurry, and that the mistress is waiting, and hang around until you manage to get through these little gaps and proceed to follow them. And as you go, you just hear them giggling and talking to each other as they go around, and they just sort of look over their shoulder at you every now and again and continue to lead you.
I don't trust these guys.
So unless you want to ask them anything else, they will continue to lead you into the forest.
Tisvan is just keeping his eyes open because even with Kane's magic, he does not really trust this, but it's the best lead they have.
Yeah, okay, so they will continue to lead them. Do you want to ask them anything else before we get there to where they're going? Are you happy to follow them?
Happy to follow them is maybe an overstatement, but following them, I think we all are.
Cool. Okay, so
It's the Feywild. We don't know how to navigate here.
So after what seems like perhaps several hours of trekking following these little creatures, you eventually come to or start to approach this dense thicket of trees, and the little creatures begin to sort of slow their pace, and they exchange glances, looking at each other with these big, same big wide grins, looking at each other, looking back at you as if sort of sharing some sort of private joke between them. And one of them, the one with the sort of like the chestnut head, turns and says, and just comes a little bit closer, breaks free from the other three, and comes closer to whoever is currently following the closest, and just whispers to you,
"Be good guests, yes, and she may grant you a boon, or perhaps a secret long forgotten. But be careful. She is old, older than the tree, older than the stone. She protects the woods, she does, and she speaks to them, so listen. She is wise, she is, but beware. Her patience is like the wind, gentle one moment, fierce the next. Listen carefully, yes, yes."
And the creatures will sort of pull apart a little sort of clump of leaves or bushes, two on either side, just pulling them back slowly, and you just see a little pathway that leads into what appears to be an opening to a grove of trees.
We go, I guess.
Yep, we go in.
So you continue to walk forward, and you step through this little thicket. As you go through, and the last of you go through, probably, I don't know who wants to be last through. Who would be at the back of the queue?
For once, I actually don't feel like being the last in the queue, so I think I'll take the second or third in.
Tisvan would probably be the one in the lead.
Okay. So, Kane, would you be at towards the back?
Ah, I came back just in time.
I assume I think your normal stance is you've been at the back or the front, and then Tisvan vice versa. You usually are the sort of the top of the tail, keeping people safe.
Yeah, I could go for the back. I
Yeah?
can keep an eye on our rear, so to speak.
So you've just stepped through basically, or just stepping through this sort of thicket that the creatures have parted for you, as you're stepping into this this grove of trees that they've led you to. And it's as you all sort of step through. Kane, you're the last one to go through. And as you pass through, the creatures one in turn. So the little sticky one first says, as you go through, sort of darts up the tree nearest and says,
This is where we leave you. Yes, it is. The grove is close, very close.
another one, the one that's sort of all been made like a big bundle of moss, just hovers on its little leafy wings behind you as you go through and says,
The path is straight. Your steps must be light. The mistress does not like heavy feet.
and then the one that looks like a bundle of grasses altogether darts into around this underbrush that's near before disappearing, saying,
Good luck, mortals. We'll be watching. Oh, yes, we will.
and then the last one, as it lets go of the grasses, the thicket that it opened, lets go, closing it behind you. You just hear it say,
Find her you will, but beware. She already knows you're in her lair.
and then they're gone. They disappear into the forest, dissolving from your sight. Their laughter and giggling fading into the distance as they leave you alone on the edge of a grove.
Kane is going to sort of talk loud enough that Tisvan could hear me up front, but not so loud that I'm like shouting. Just kind of maybe I pass the message along through everyone, honestly, to avoid talking too loudly. But he will just kind of say, if what they say is to be believed, it's best that you and me take extra caution here, given what we're wearing.
That seems like a pretty good idea, yes.
So as you push through the last barrier, sorry, were you going to say something?
Just that Tisvan gently shoves Amros to the front.
Yes,
You're a
I
bit
will take
lighter on-
that as the hint that I'll be the one to speak, huh?
I was more thinking that you're lighter on your feet than either me or Kane.
Looks at Moira and then back at you. And I just go, fine, fair argument.
As you push through this last barrier of thick, tangled underbrush, the forest suddenly opens up into this breathtakingly serene and ancient grove. The air here is different, cooler, fresher, almost electric, with the sense of ancient magics that permeate the air around you. What light there is from above filters through the canopy, casting dappled patterns of light and shadow across the forest floor. Massive trees encircle the grove, their trunks wide and gnarled with age, their roots snaking across the ground like ancient guardians of the sacred place. The bark of these trees is etched with strange flowing symbols that seem to pulse with a soft inner light, giving the grove an otherworldly glow. Vines laden with delicate luminescent flowers drape from the branches, filling the air with a sweet, intoxicating fragrance. Ahead of you, you see in the center of the grove stands a towering oak, its bark twisted and gnarled with age, far larger and older than any others that you've seen. Its branches stretch skyward as if reaching towards the heavens themselves. The ground around the great oak is covered in a carpet of soft moss interspersed with tiny glowing mushrooms that flicker like stars. The very air around you hums with the presence of life. Every rustle of the leaves, every whisper of the wind seems to carry a voice, as if the forest itself is alive and aware of your presence.
Amorous is kind of taking it all in at first and then trying to look around the ground, see if there is any form of clear path up to the main tree, such as laid out stones or rotted up ground.
Yeah, if you want to give me a perception check to see if there is a path of any kind. You don't see one just by looking, but if you want to give me a perception to try and investigate a little bit more.
12?
12? Yeah, you look back and forward. There doesn't seem to be a path as such. The area seems to be just this mix of sort of grasses and moss growing everywhere that lead up to this tree. But there doesn't seem to be any man-made path or thoroughfare where creatures may be used to walking backwards and forwards. It all seems to be very similar all the way around.
Then, with no clear path indicated, Amorous is gonna gently and as light on his feet as he can walk up halfway between the party and the big tree, pretty much, and go, we were summoned by the mistress of the forest, trying to see if there's a reaction by anything in the grove.
Sure. Give me an insight check.
Ow. 6.
Yeah, you say this out into the grove, and you wait for a moment. The grove itself is reasonably silent, save for the soft rustle of leaves and this sort of like almost like voices on the air, and in the distance you hear sort of the call of birds. But other than that, this area feels just serene, peaceful, and your words sort of echo out, but no response.
Amorous kind of looks back at the pot. They give them an expression of, what am I supposed to do?
I think
Any suggestions?
I think Giggles would have followed you up, seeing as you're the one that's been talking to him and he's got the best rapport with, so I think he would have come with you at that point.
When Amorous turns back towards the rest of the party, Tisvan would walk up, but he would be exceedingly careful in trying to walk lightly. In difference to the, more stomp-like
You can
walk
so
he has usually.
I'll let you choose. You can either use your stealth. It's a way of walking slower or more gently, or you can do maybe a performance to see if you can step in a more gentle way.
I will take performance in that case.
Okay.
Since I don't have disadvantage in that.
7. So yeah, you try to be as graceful as you can with the boots. Now, remind me, do you still have on the red cap boots, the iron boots that you picked up?
No, I removed those after I fucked up several times with my
No
Big
worries.
sticks.
So you try and be as gentle. You believe yourself to be, you're trying to do it. You may or may not believe that you're doing the greatest of job in your armor, but you try as best you can to at least show that you are trying to be as careful and gentle as you step as possible. And I think Galatea will probably look towards you, Kane, and ask, I suppose we should move forward with the others.
I was wary to see how this place would react to someone less than dainty treading, but Tisvin doesn't seem harmed, so there's no harm in it, I suppose. Very carefully, not slowing down, but imagine you were trying to walk on Legos with bare feet without hurting yourself. That's the kind of walk Kane is doing.
So again, do you want to use performance or stealth in order to try your best to walk carefully and respectfully?
Performance is the better stat.
Yeah.
And with how my rolls have been in this campaign recently, I think I may go for the better one. Stealth is really not what Kane's good at. He's not very good at being stealthy.
And I would say I'll give you the option of both of those ones there. This probably is less like a stealth because you're not trying to hide. You're just trying to be more gentle, more graceful. So it probably makes sense that performance is the one that you'll go for more anyway. So.
Well, I
That's a
tried.
4. So mimicking Tisvin in his steps to try and be as graceful and light as you can. There's only so much you can do when you're wearing these iron boots, and although you step as lightly as you possibly can, the sheer weight of the metal is can't help but flatten the grass and the moss that you stand on as you walk towards the tree. But at least it appears that you are doing your best to try and reduce the amount as possible. And you all you begin to approach this giant oak in the center. Let's have some perception checks from anyone who would like to make a perception check.
I will.
16
from Amaris, 18 from Tisvin, 17 from Moira, and a 14 from Kane. Very good. Oh, let me roll for Galatea as well while we're here.
What were those rolls when you two were
I
walking?
know, that's pretty good all the way across like that.
Not that I should say anything with my insight.
Oh, another 14 as well. Yeah, all very good rolls across there. So you all, as you're approaching, you all look around within this grove, and you notice what I've mentioned previously. You see this kind of like very nice, dappled light area. This very pleasant grove, and it's different from the rest of the forest where you've been. Before, it's been reasonably dim and dark. The canopy restricts what light there is, and of course it's twilight most of the time, so there isn't that strong a sun beating down. But here, that doesn't seem to be the case. The canopy seems just as dense, and the trees seem just as thick as they were, but for some reason this whole grove area seems brighter, lighter. The air is cooler and fresher here. It feels like there's life here. And the trees are more green and more like what you're used to, compared to the kind of more brown and almost violet tinted kind of like leaves that you've come used to since you've been here in the Feywild. And you all notice this stillness, this silence. The leaves and the wind blows in your ears, but there is no. There doesn't seem to be anyone here. There doesn't seem to be anything other than this tree in the center. There doesn't seem to be a focus or any creatures that you can determine from where you currently are.
With how quote unquote serene this place appears to be compared to everything else we have had in the Feywild so far, Amorous is going to summon up a bit more courage and keep approaching the tree, kind of gesturing to the others to hold back a little bit, but keeping an eye out. And he's gonna approach this area, but avoiding stepping on the root.
Okay. Bring over the doggy with you as well.
Giggles will stay with me.
So yeah,
Of course,
so
I like to call from now on. Giggly-doo!
Giggly-doo. So yeah, so you walk over and you're conscious to step around the roots of this tree as they spread out. And as you approach, you see that these roots are all covered in grass and moss, and there are flowers that grow from the bottom of this. They're almost sort of covered in sort of the overgrowth from from around the bottom, but only to a certain extent. It's not messy or overgrown. It seems to be almost like decoration around the foot of this tree. Give me another insight check.
Will do. Let's hope for a better roll.
Oh, natural
There we
20.
fucking go.
There we go. Perfect. Okay.
20, Billy!
So now that you have got this close to the tree and you see it towering up into the sky, this is a giant tree. It almost seems, it's difficult to say. It's the base of this tree and the size of this tree. The only thing you can compare it to, and even that is not quite as big as this tree, is what you thought was a tower in the town of Blackstone that you have arrived to, that white tree that is in the center of the town. It's almost that big, this sort of ancient tree. But say this is even bigger than that one. And of course this one has a canopy and branches. The one in town has been cut. And as you look up at this towering tree, and with that insight, looking into the tree itself, you begin to feel like this is the heart, this is the center of this place. And beneath the mighty oak, you sense a presence there, possibly of the one that you are meant to meet. And you kind of get this uncanny feeling that you're being watched. Something is watching you, waiting. And that whatever this is somehow connected, intertwined with the tree, the grass, the leaves around you. Everything, it feels like, is all pulling you to this one point in front of this tree. But that everything around here is connected somehow. As you stand in the ancient grove, a stillness begins to fall over the forest. The gentle rustling of the leaves quiets. The distant calls of the birds fade away, and even the gentle breeze seems to hold its breath in silence. Your eyes are drawn up, Amoros, towards this towering oak at the center of the grove, its massive trunk dominating the space. Slowly, the tree pulses with an inner light. You notice its bark softly glowing, as though some sort of energy stirs within it. Slowly, almost imperceptible at first, the bark of the oak begins to shift and move, and the wood begins to creak and groan as it bends and reshapes itself. The ancient symbols etched into the bark start to grow brighter, and the moss at the base of the tree ripples, parting to reveal a rich, dark soil beneath. And then from where you felt this, your insight brought you to this sort of feeling of presence, this heart of this tree, where the trunk is at its thickest. Something begins to emerge. A growing form, shaping itself from the wood and the earth, begins to grow in front of you. Vines and branches twist and weave together, coming together to form the shape of this towering figure, this female figure. As the branches and twists grow together, 10, 12, 15 feet up into the air, the leaves grow from it and unfurl as this female form emerges. The leaves grow and furl down the back, becoming like a flowing hair cascading down in a wave of green and gold leaves. The skin of the creature is a deep, rich brown, like the bark of the oak itself, yet smooth, with still remnants of the ancient symbols adorning it. Great twisting branches grow from the front of the head of this creature, almost like horns shooting upwards towards the canopy, while small leaves begin to grow on their tips. Flowers bloom along the limbs of this creature, their delicate petals adding splashes of colour to their form, bringing, almost coating the skin, almost as if suggesting clothing, or modelling the body as if it was, was dressed in some kind of the word. I can't think of it at the moment, but yes, but basically growing around as if some sort of like wrapping around the body.
There we go.
Sort of, yeah, that kind of thing. Though you see no eyes on the face, a mouth opens within the face of this creature. This giant female form, as you hear the lips part and it exhale. Standing before you, this giant female form of this creature made from the very oak in front of you, stands 12 to 15 feet high, tall in front of you, looking out towards, not specifically at you, Amoros, but towards the entrance that you came in through. Though there's no eyes, the face points in that direction.
I take it you are the mistress of the forest?
There's silence for a moment, and then the head turns down to look towards you, Amoros. You who walk upon the soil of this sacred place, you who have been touched by life and death of the forest, I am Lirelei, guardian of the ancient wood and the heart of this grove. You have journeyed far, and now you stand before me. She, where her legs are, she steps forward, but you see no feet. The flowers and the branches that make up this form almost sort of grow and move into the earth. It erupts, the soil erupts around, growing more parts. So the form moves away slightly from the tree, but does not break away from it. She looks down towards you and turns in your direction, Amros. The forest has watched your steps, felt your presence. You have slain the beast, but now you stand at the crossroads of fate. Tell me, mortals, what is it you seek in the heart of the wild? As she speaks, you all notice that the forest seems to come alive around her. The trees that surround this grove almost seem to lean in closer, their branches creaking as they move. The flowers at her feet bloom in vibrant colors, and the air is thick with a scent of earth and growing things. And she stands there.
I would say that what most of us seeks are very much our way home. And for that, it appears that we need to find out what has separated this land from the Feywild. Sorry for a late introduction, by the way. My name is Amorous, and he gives a bit of a noble bow towards her.
There's another pause for a moment, and the creature looks up towards the rest of the party. Yes, we know the names of the creatures the forest have spoken to us. We are apart from the rest of the realm. That is true. We have no power over this separation, or the one that brought you here. The princess holds the power over this domain.
Can you tell us about the Shadowbog?
Her head turns down to you again. The Chernobog. This creature, the one you have slain, is but its spawn.
So it wasn't the real thing, it was its own thing created by the main thing?
She moves forward as if nodding. The beast lingers. We feel its movement. It is far from here, but trapped as we all are. You have slain one of its spawn, but there are others. I am curious to know why you linger in this forest.
Kane's walking forward as this talking is happening. If that's okay with the DM.
Yeah, that's fine. She sees you walking forward, or you assume that she's aware that she has no eyes and she's not looking at you. But she doesn't seem to react as you approach.
It didn't feel pertinent to be shouting to you back where my companions are. I'd rather approach you so that I can use a quieter speaking voice in this domain that is yours.
Her focus turns towards you, Kane, and she nods.
I couldn't help but overhear what you were saying to my traveling companion here. I had a theory that what we had encountered was not the first Chernobog. Do you have any idea how many it's afflicted?
She pauses for a moment, and the trees around the grove bend out for a moment, and there's a breeze that just washes over the area before they slowly creak and bend back in again. There are 2 of its spawn we can sense within our land, and the creature itself, though we are unable to sense any it may have infested.
So the creature still resides in your forest.
It does. The Chernobog is a beast of pure evil. We would see it removed from this land. But we do not currently have the strength. Its spawn continues while it still lives.
Moira is gonna step forward as well. Do you mean to say if we defeat the original Chernobog that it would do heal the rest?
The face of the creature turns and looks down at you, Moira. If the beast is defeated, there will be no more spawn. But the spawn must still be taken care of to eradicate this beast's line.
I see.
Hearing this, Tisvan will also step forward. little bit further away than the others, kind of behind Kane and Moira. Turn to his mistress and ask, sorry for stepping in like this, but do you know of any way to stop anyone infected from turning into a Chernobog?
Her head turns towards you now, Tisman. And she, again, there's no eyes, so you can't sense her looking directly at you, but her head tilts up to your direction. I know of only one way. Take the head of the creature before it turns.
You're saying to kill anyone who's turning.
That is the only way I know.
There's just a very sullen look on Kane's face upon hearing this information. Well, that doesn't mean that it's the only solution. Just that it's the only solution that this creature of the forest is aware of.
We have to try everything else first. This must be our last solution. Our very last solution.
The large creature looks down amongst you all again, listening to your words. If they were of the forest, the forest can heal itself. As you have slain the spawn of the Chernobog, so has it been reclaimed by the land. The creature that now lies within these woods has been purged. If you seek another way to remove this curse without the death, you must seek another's grace.
So, what do the rest of you think? We can't just wait around for this to get better.
Guess we're gonna find a way to find, I don't know, hopefully defeat this creature. I kind of was hoping that it would only be one.
We do have that healer that was mentioned in the flyer in Prigwort. I think that would be our next best bet. Although, and then he turns to the mistress again. My lady, can you tell us where the original creature exists within your lands?
She looks up into the air, and once again the trees sort of bow back, and a breeze once again flows through the grove for a moment. Leaves float around and then slow and fall to the ground as the trees lean back in again, and she looks down towards you. The beast currently languishes outside the town of High Hankel. But it is ever moving. It seeks something within this forest. I do not know what. Or if I did, I would give it to cast this vile creature from my land.
A friend of ours has been infected, and we're seeking a cure for it, and by the sound of it, we're gonna have to slay this beast in order to cure her. So I guess we're on the same team in this.
She looks back towards you, Ross. Yes. You must slay the beast. However, this will only stop it creating new spawn. Those infected, those spawn that live, will continue until they are also vanquished. If you seek a way to remove this blight, this curse upon the one you know, you must seek your answers outside the forest.
Is there anything you could offer us as support in this task, considering we would all benefit from this?
For killing the spawn of the Chernobog, you have already been granted audience with the heart of the forest. However, if you were to slay the beast itself or the remaining spawn, the forest would come to your aid. Your names will be known as friends throughout the woods.
Kane wants to say something, and I think you all see him go to say something, but then he hesitates. It seems like he doesn't want to talk about it right here, right now. But he seems to have something on his mind.
I was curious to meet the ones that have felled the spawn of the Chernobog. For not many here in this land have ever succeeded. It was curious.
I'm not sure if you're aware. I understand that you're a powerful creature, but we are not of this land.
She nods. We sensed your presence the moment you entered our land. We know you are from far away.
Well, your senses were certainly accurate. Getting back to where we came from is, and he kind of looks around at the party as he says this to see if other people agree, our top priority, really, but we see that this place is in a state of great discomfort. I don't know how comfortable I would be leaving a place like this in the state that it currently is. Everyone seems miserable, and death seems rampant. But we've been shown nothing but hospitality from the people here. It wouldn't feel right to just abandon them now. I would like to return to where I came from soon, but not before I've at least tried to help these people. And if getting rid of this terrible beast that's already hurt so many is what it takes, then I am prepared to at least try.
The curse upon this land is not due to the Chernobog. The Chernobog is more of a symptom. The princess is the one who has sealed us to our fate here, cut off from the rest of the Feywild. 'Wild. 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 Our power was once far greater than it is now. But we are but a splinter of the forest greater. If you seek to find your way back, whether you can help the creatures here, you must seek out the princess. You will need to sate her madness if you wish to return the creatures of this realm to their rightful place.
We have heard the tale of this princess from the townsfolk that we've met. It seems that someone who was once a great positive influence on this realm has truly fallen deep into the pits of despair and dragged everyone else down with her. I can't say that any of us are powerful enough to take on somebody with that level of authority and command, but if at least culling the symptoms of this very sick land is what the most of what we can do, then I think that simply that's all we can do. Maybe in time, if we truly are stuck here forever, we will grow powerful enough to try and take on this megalomaniac. But for now, I think it would be a fool's errand for us to try and question her reign.
She looks down towards you, Kane, and slowly nods. As you say. The troubles of this realm are great. And you are but mere mortals on this plane.
The mistress of the forest. I take it you're also the one, let's say, representing the dryads in any form of conflicts?
She looks towards you, Amaros. I am one of the ancient dryad of this land. I am the heart of the forest. All conflicts with the forest are mine. Do you have conflict with me and the forest?
I wouldn't say that I personally have conflict with you, nor do I seek to have conflict. However, a town we're trying to help out. There are woodworkers there who live off the forest, and they need trees and wood in order to do that. But apparently the dryads have been driving them away from where they work. Is it possible that there have been a misunderstanding between them, or that they have done something to anger the dryads? And is there a way we can resolve this peacefully?
As you mention the woodworkers or the lumberjacks from the town, the trees around you start to creak and groan, and the flowers and blooms around Liralay's feet start to slowly discolor and wither. She speaks again, but her voice now is tinged with a rustling of leaves. You would speak to me of these hateful beings? Those who bring fire and steel without respect? Those who would bring about our ruin? A misunderstanding, you say?
I'm a neutral party in this. I only have their point of the view. I have yet to hear your point of the view. Where I'm from personally, there is actually a bit of a rule when it comes to taking down trees, which is that you're not allowed to take healthy trees. You're only allowed to take the trees that are dying, because they no longer can hold up and would potentially actually fall and hurt other trees. Therefore, both would benefit. I don't know if that would work here, but I'm trying to find a solution that would work for both without causing more harm.
The ancient dryad in front of you, you can see her body creaks and groans like the trees around, and the air, the cool air, gets almost a chill to it as she listens to your words. And when she speaks again, you hear a mix of heavy sorrow and anger in her voice. It is not for mortals, as you say, to get involved with the pain that has been forced upon this forest. The trees here are not dying. They take too much. See now what these creatures have done. See now the atrocities that have befallen this forest because of their axes. And as she towers above you, she raises her arms, and a wave of illusion just evaporates around you. And where the grove that you've been standing around had seemed peaceful and green, you see this almost this curtain pulled back, revealing what is truly there. You see this disturbing sight that catches your attention. A large, deep gash runs across the ancient oak tree in front of you. The wound seeps a thick amber sap that drips slowly onto the moss-covered ground below. It gleams in the dappled light, and it almost resembles fresh blood oozing from an open wound. Around the grove, you see that other trees bear similar marks, jagged cuts across the trunks, wood exposed and raw, where axes have bitten deep into the flesh. Some of the smaller trees lean at unnatural angles, their branches drooping as if in pain. The once serene and vibrant grove is suddenly tainted by these acts of violence. Life force of the forest visibly ebbing and wounded. The air around you, once filled with sweet fragrance and flowers and vitality of the forest, now carries a hint of decay and suffering. As you take in these unsettling sights, this much more decayed and lifeless surroundings that are the true look of this grove, you notice these similar changes within the female figure in front of you. Her once pure, clean skin is now fractured, the bark twisted, the branches gnarled and bent. Her flowers that cover her body withered and begin loosely falling, dropping to the floor, as if some sort of poison or life energy is drawn out of her, causing her to dry and desiccate in front of you.
Moira is now very distressed and frantically looking around before finally just kind of covering her face. Just, no, make it stop. Make it stop, please.
The ancient dryad's body bends and twists down lower towards you. You see now what has been done to my home, to the heart of the forest. These wounds are not just to the trees, but me, the very soul of this land. The axes of mortals, driven by greed and ignorance, have bitten deep to the flesh of the forest. They seek to claim what they do not understand, to take from the earth without thought of cost. She lifts her hand from the tree, sap clinging to her fingers like dripping tears. This grove has stood for centuries, a sanctuary of life, a place of peace. But now it bleeds, and with it so do I. The balance is broken, the harmony shattered by those who would see the forest fall. Tell me, mortals, why have you come? Are you here to take from the forest, to leave your mark upon the trees and the earth? Do you seek to heal what has been broken, to restore what has been lost?
I can restore what's been lost. A life taken can very rarely be replaced. I can also see that they clearly took too much. At the same time, yes, this may come off as very rude, and that is not my intention. But where one life perishes, a new one takes place. Whereas one massive tree once stood, a new sapling would form, or at least that's what I've always been told. I can't say that what they did was wrong, but no, sorry, misformed that. I can't say what they did was right by any means, but clearly they didn't know how big of an impact this would have on nature itself. I can't speak for how things work here in the Feywild, as I'm not from here, but I can see that it's deeply impacted everyone here.
Perhaps, as you say, Amaros, the problem here is ignorance rather than ill intent.
Most likely. I mean, in our case, we're pretty much just messengers. We're just trying to find a solution to a problem, but unless we know all the info, there wouldn't be a way to find a solution or bring an end to the conflict itself. We can only speak from our side, but now that we also have the Dryad side, we can bring that up with the woodworkers to see if we can get them to, well, stop or find another way. I don't want this to end in hostility for any side, but I'm just a mouthpiece at this point.
The ancient dryad slowly stands up again from her curled lower position that she was over you, and stands more rigid. Do you not think that we had warned them? We have told them that they take too much, and yet they come to the heart of the forest and try to cut the trees of the ancient grove. They knew fair well that what they were doing was wrong. Their greed. They were willing to sacrifice the spirit of the forest, knowing that as we are cut off from the Feywild greater, that we had been weakened. They thought only of themselves. This conflict is not with you, but with the one who commands them. Her voice softens slightly, but there's still an edge of bitterness to it. You seek to make peace with ones whose very soul have been torn by their kind. The blood of the forest cries out for justice, not mere words. But if you truly desire to end this without further bloodshed. She pauses for a moment, considering what you said. Amaros, what you have said is true. Life grows anew from the old. Yet, these ancient trees have been here centuries, for lifetimes beyond that of your reckoning. They cannot simply be replaced by a sapling. No, there is only one way that we can begin to heal the forest. The one who commands the axes, the one who profits from the destruction of my heart. He is the one I see. If the master will give up his life in exchange for the lives of those who serve him, I will stay my hand. Only then will the balance be restored and the forest can begin to heal.
Who is the one of which you speak?
I think at this point, Galatea will probably whisper to you and say, I think they mean Selathin, the mill owner. He was the one who told us about the lumberjacks going missing and being killed, and he is the one who sent them into the forest to cut the trees.
I cannot help but feel that though you have been done a disservice with the destruction of that which is so precious to you, a trade of blood for blood is... I feel as though you would want to maybe set an example of the right way to do things. I do think that this individual owes you great recompense, but to pay with their life, this seems too much.
You see the face look down at you again, Kane. And when she speaks, there is anger in her voice. You would pit one measly life, the life of a mortal creature, against the eons of life of this tree? You think that an unfair balance? You think one simple life is worth that of an entire forest? It is a pittance. It is but the blink of an eye in this realm. That life would mean nothing to the age of this forest. Is it not a balance for offering this one life when so many of theirs will be spared? You think me unreasonable? Perhaps. You think that these trees that have stood here from before the land was born, for them lives to be taken so brutally, perhaps I am being unreasonable. Perhaps I should take the town itself. Yes. If this one will not give his life, if this one who thinks me unreasonable to request one simple mortal life for that of an ancient and everlasting tree is unreasonable, I can balance it further by taking the village itself. You have
If I may.
You have given me much to ponder, mortal. I thank you.
Mistress of the Forest. Lorelei, if I remember correctly, your name was right?
Yeah.
I don't mean any rudeness in this. And I'm not saying that you are unreasonable. Hasty, potentially. If I would offer a suggestion, I would be give us a chance to see if we can get the man that we at least think is the one, that are the one profiting from all of this, to come here to speak with you directly. If he can't convince you, then that's out of our hands. But I want to at least have both sides to have a chance to move on at least neutral terms from this without it leading to more hostility that would end up taking more lives for no reason. Balancing is one thing, revenge would be another. This is all my opinion, but I'm in no position to be able to stop you.
Oh my god, Kane almost like he wants to hug you, Amaros, when you say those words. It's like you're speaking the true word of Argental to him. His eyes light up.
You're freaking infecting, mate.
The wind, the breeze in this area turns colder still, and the ancient dryad stands still in front of you, no longer looking down at you. Return to your town and bring me his answer. But know this: if you deceive me, or if he refuses, there will be no more negotiation. The forest will reclaim what was taken, and none in your town shall be spared. And with that, the form that you see before you begins to unravel, and the wood and the vines separate, and the form that you see before you writhes and returns back into the tree. And after a few moments, the giant oak stands before you, but the grove remains as you see it now, splintered, fractured, gouges and sap pouring down the branches and the bodies of the tree. You see now, looking around you, the devastation that has happened, the wounds and the fracturing of trees that have been caused by giant grey axes. The once perfect glamour that you assume this grove used to look like, now reduced.
I get a distinct feeling that we're no longer welcome.
I have that feeling too, and the worst part is that I had a few questions for her that I was hoping she could answer, being an ancient one. But I also feel like I'm not meant to be a diplomat at all of this. I don't know enough about how the Feywild works. And clearly, trees falling down would quite obviously harm people who resonate with the forest spirits themselves more than anything, right?
I think that when it comes to diplomacy, that was nothing short of a masterclass, my friend. I've never known anyone to speak the true word of Argental better than Libra herself back in Daggerford, but we'll make an acolyte out of you yet.
Who knows what the balanced path of the world has, huh? But for now, I guess all we can do is either head back to town and see what we can do from there. Hopefully, Mr. Woodwork is not going to cause us more trouble of this. Or we head to that healer cult thing that Tysvan mentioned. I I have no idea what we're doing at this point.
We need to return. I do not think that we have a lot of time to get his answer.
Yeah, that is actually very true. We probably need to get his answer quick. Like she said, a blink of an eye for them is quite a long time for us comparatively. Or, oh wait, other way around, right? People with long lifetimes compared to people with short lifetimes is so confusing to me.
It would be pertinent while we're returning back to town that we perhaps discuss what we've learned about Chernobyls with those who are affected by it.
Very true. So, I guess we're heading back home, huh? This place. He's not wrong in the fact that it was very beautiful before. I can understand the need of survival in the need for wood. But yeah, this is quite a devastating sight.
Quite. Quite. This.
Well, sorry for my lack of vocabulary. Damn, you woke up.
This is equal to a massacre.
I mean, when you compare how most people actually look, or how most mortal people, as they call us, would look at a tree, you're probably wrong in that. But at the same time, knowing that these people, or do you call them people or kin? I don't. These let's fucking call them wood folk. I don't bloody know. They are like part of nature itself, so they would have a completely different view on it, and therefore they would have completely different values too. So I don't know if there is even a possibility for a peaceful solution at this point. Because yeah, you're right that this would probably be akin to a massacre.
I think what you might need to take into consideration here, Moira, is in a land as dangerous and desperate as this, people cling to whatever resources they can gather. I'm not saying what was done was right or even justified, but I can at least understand why they would need the materials gathered from a tree to build homes, protection, weapons, things of comfort. It seems that every corner we turn, something is trying to rend our flesh from our bones. Having a house in a place like this, flimsy or not, would at least ease your mind somewhat. They could have chosen other materials, though I feel they didn't know that taking these trees would have such a long-lasting effect on those that coveted them.
Also, when you think about it, when someone build a wooden cottage per se. To these guys, that would probably be the equivalent of someone built to, well, let's say someone of Arkin just building a house out of corpses. Like, that's pretty much the equivalent. We wouldn't see that ourselves, but they would. And that's a disturbing thought in of itself.
I think the only solution to this situation is that has already been posed by Amaros. The true balance is a form of court, a form of meeting between the two parties, with a jury of some description deciding amongst themselves what is truly right from wrong and a fitting punishment. We would be remiss to pass judgment on a situation that we do not completely understand yet.
Like, this is, to me, this is less of a situation between a misunderstanding and two different points of views causing a misunderstanding. It's hard to say who's wrong and who's right in this, I would say. But for now, all we can hope is that we are able to set up some form of meeting between these two, and that it doesn't turn into a complete bloodbath for either side. Or even with us caught in the bloodbath itself. Like, I don't know if we can find a solution to this. I can only hope that it works out well.
Either way, we should return to town. See if maybe we can convince all involved parties to meet here. With our protection, of course. I don't feel it would be safe for them to travel here alone.
Yes, sending them here alone might not be the best idea. I mean, in all of this, like I said to the mistress, we are probably the most neutral party in all of this. But I don't know if there is a solution. But for now, it's like you say, all we can do is head back to town and see what we can do from there.
Well, it seems that's the only thing for it then. And Kane's gonna start, walking out of this grove.
Okay. And so you all make your way back to the thicket from whence you came, how you entered the grove originally. The trees and the area now tainted compared to when you first arrived. And you feel a strange energy in the forest as you move your way back towards the town, probably with Giggles leading the way, knowing the direction that you've come in before. But a strange sense as you walk through the forest. It's an uneasy feeling. The forest before was dark, and its dappled light was not hard to navigate, and in some instances it could feel claustrophobic. But now you feel like you're being watched. The trees don't seem to or seem to almost bend towards you, towards the path that you walk. Not stopping you from moving, but almost hindering your progress. Branches and roots seem to jut out in inconvenient places. Whereas when you've travelled before, you didn't seem to have this uncomfortable sense as you walk through the paths. But nonetheless, you continue to follow the path, to follow Giggles, and head back in the direction of the town. And that's where we'll leave it for tonight. Thank you very much for playing.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was heavy.
A heavy.
Why do I have to end up the diplomat in that situation? Galatea, get your ass back here.
You have
She was the
the
one who
highest
fucking picked up
charisma.
that damn quest.
I think, is my charisma or my dex -1? One of them is.